Welcome to the C.L.I.M.B. This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. This podcast exists because we want you to win. And leverage is what you're going to need. If you're a singer, if you're a songwriter, if you're an indie artist, you're going to need to bring something to the table to get that booking agent, to get that record deal, to get that manager. What is leverage, you ask? Leverage is a strategic advantage. It's the power to act effectively. It means they're coming to you more than you're coming to them. That's why we called it The C.L.I.M.B, this podcast, C.L.I.M.B, creating leverage in the music business, which is genius. And the person who wrote that, the wordsmith, Mr. Wordman, is my co-host and good friend, Mr. Brent Baxter. Brent's an award-winning hit songwriter, too, with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady Antebellum, Joe Nichols, and more. And he also helps songwriters like you turn pro by revealing how you write like a pro, do business like a pro, and not only that, on multiple levels, he connects you with the pros so you get your at-bat. You can find Brent very easily at songwritingpro.com. Once again, that's songwritingpro.com. And
I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. They help you find your sound, and they help you grow your audience so you can become the artist that everybody loves, so you can get paid while you're at it. Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That's production, singular, no S, and there is no S because there is no other Johnny D.
How you doing, brother?
Doing all right. I'm getting a little loopy, but I'm good.
Once again, we're in the same room.
I know like this is cool. This is weird, but it's
way
good.
Cooler. Yeah.
Oh, you have legs. Wow.
Oh, you never knew that. I could have been. You could have looked at me in the camera. Could have not had any pants on the whole time.
Well, I assume you didn't, but thank you for putting them on today. I appreciate that so much.
Well, hey, today we are going to talk about this. Without this, ... they may not take you seriously. And so if you want to be taken seriously, if you want to be looked at as a professional, then this is the episode for you. But before we get into that, hey, if you haven't joined the C.L.I.M.B community, do so. It's on Facebook. We let everybody in. You need to ask to be let in, and just don't be obnoxious, or we'll roadhouse you. Leave a rating and review. It makes people who are just sticking their toe in the water and trying to discover us for the first time feel a little bit better about spending some time to and not wasting their time. Right. So it makes us look legit, and we'll read it on the air. Subscribe. Put it in your podcast player so that it automatically pops in there every Tuesday. We'll make sure we fill you with knowledge. And share it if you like this information. If you're listening to all these episodes, make sure your friends and your colleagues and your compadres know about it. It could help them too. And the C.L.I.M.B conference.
Yes, it's coming up quickly.
Yeah,
it's coming up May 5th, 4th and 5th in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Yes,
and it's the C.L.I.M B conference. It's going to be me and Johnny. We'll be here spreading the C.L.I.M B gospel, and also Chris Oglesby from BMG Music, big hit publisher, discovered some huge songwriters and signed with their first deals. Luke Laird, and it's just sickening. And also Shelby Kennedy, who's president of TuneCore here in Nashville. And especially if you're a singer-songwriter, you have music you want to get out to the world, he's a dude you want to know, and you want to know what TuneCore does. And he's not there giving you just the pitch, but he's there telling you about the real stuff.
Telling you how it is.
Right. So, there's going to be 4 of us, and people that are going to show up are going to have really a lot of time for face-to-face time. It's going to be really cool. So really an opportunity to connect with pros in the business that are doing it. And so I think it's a great opportunity. And some of y'all are going to have things to be like an open mic. We're going to get to play for people. So it's not just waving at people. You actually get a chance to, a lot of people will be playing music for Shelby and all of us.
Yeah, man, that's cool.
And we're coming to you.
And they're down. Like we had had breakfast with them recently, and just sat down, and they're just finding different ways that they can. Hey, what if we did this to connect better? What if we did this to have more time with each person? Like they're really into it. They're really wanting to take advantage of it. So I'm honored and blessed to be a part of it.
I'm fired up too.
So, yes.
To find out about that, yes.
theclimbconference.com. theclimbconference.com. And you can get all the details there. Fly in, drive in, ride a horse.
A burro.
Whatever it takes.
A burro over the mountain.
Take a train, a bus, whatever it's going to take. Just get there, because it's going to be some real good information for singer-songwriters and any artists like you to move forward.
What do we got today?
Well, let's get into it. Let's talk about what this,
what that thing is that I take so seriously.
How many times in your different communities are you getting feedback from people that are just like, man, it should just be about the song?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've heard that for years. I've said it. Said it too.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got the whole thing. It all begins with a song. And I say, that's their slogan.
Which is true.
With a song, which it begins there.
That's where it begins. That's right. And it's not just about the song. If you're a songwriter, if you're trying to get cuts, if you're wanting to make relationships that you're going to need to make with publishers, with song pluggers, with A&R people, with artists, could be local artists, could be other songwriters that you want to do writing with, then you want them to think of you as a professional. You want to be perceived as a professional, somebody who knows what they're doing, understands the business part of it. Because if they're serious about it and they get the business part and they don't feel like you do,
they're not interested in working with you.
Yeah, right? So, man, one of the biggest issues that I see with a lot of writers out there is just the demo. When you got a song that's ready to go, man, you gotta get the pro demo. You gotta get a professional demo. But it's more than just about the sonic quality. I think a lot of times with writers, they see the investment that's going to take to get the kind of demo that they want to get, and they're immediately going to, am I going to get a cut from this?
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes, hey, I hope you do. Right. But there's other ways that create the ROI, the return on the investment. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about, like, hey, I hope you get the cut, right? Certainly there's other cash registers that you can tap into with something that's professionally done. Yeah. But it's about the journey, too. Like, if you're trying to be, if you're 9 years old, you're standing in a sports store and you're looking at that bat and you're like, man, do I want to spend this money on that bat? And the only thing you're thinking is, am I going to go to the World Series if I get that bat? It's kind of the same thing, right?
You're not even ready for the Little League World Series at this point. You're just,
But you need to take some swings.
And to take swings, unless you really want to bruise your hand, it helps to have a bat.
Exactly. It helps to have a bat. And number two, like, hey, if you're a slugger and you've got that skill set, other people are going to see you right off the bat. They're going to see some diamonds in the rough, and you're going to start to make relationships with people who are going to help you on your journey to get to that World Series.
Right.
But you got to have the tools, right? Showing up. Here's what I mean by it's not just about the song. I want you to think about different perspectives on a pro demo. What was we were talking about this before, Brent, but you had talked, what was the engine analogy that you used?
Oh, a four-cylinder engine runs a lot more smoothly on 4 cylinders than a 6-cylinder engine does on 4 cylinders.
Right. If it's a 6-cylinder engine and it's only running on 4 cylinders, you got a problem.
Yes.
A big problem. And so you have to be the one that understands, are you bringing in professional representation of yourself to the professionals?
Right.
And regardless of what the song is, maybe the song's great. Okay, maybe the song is great, but there's other things that they're thinking about if it's like a really amateur song demo. Right. What are they thinking about? Well, from a producer perspective, who's worked with some artists that took outside cuts, major $1 million brand names, the first thing I'm thinking of is what happens is I'm listening to that song that's an amateur, poorly recorded demo in between 2 professional demos. So think about that, right? Like, if you want to get it to a song plugger, if you want to get it to a publishing company, they will have been listening to what all day long?
Professional recordings.
And then yours is going to be like, wah.
Right.
So number one, it's going to color it right off the bat, right? And we're human. They're human. Yes, they're listening for the song, but the next thing is, why isn't this better?
Well, for one thing, it's just you're listening for the song, but it can be harder to hear the song through a bad recording.
That's right.
Versus other songs that make it easy for you to hear the song. You're removing the literal and figurative static from the signal if it's a good professional recording, because then they don't have to work so hard to hear a great song. That's
right. And then the other thing is, like, why aren't they? Do they not know that this isn't professional? That
Right.
comes to mind. Like, are they naive? Are they...
Like if it's a bad demo.
Right. If it's a bad demo, are you thinking, like, do they not know the difference?
Mm-hmm.
Because that happens.
Yeah.
Happens a lot. You know, with people like, this is the best thing I've ever done. And you're like, ooh, okay.
Okay, that's where the ceiling
Yeah.
is.
And there it is. You just said it. That's where the ceiling is. So maybe you got this great song. The next question is, if we're going to do business together, what's that going to be like? If this is where the ceiling is, if your understanding of how the business works, what's it going to be like with you? Like, is this even worth getting into? Like, what kind of problems are we going to have? Because you don't get it. Like, are you going to be calling me tomorrow going, hey, I'm going to need the check sent here?
You bought my song. How much you buy that thing for? What's going rate these days for them songs?
That's right.
I mean, when you get down to, especially if you're looking to get cuts and hits by major artists, right? Usually they find more than enough songs that are cuttable.
Yep.
And they're looking for reasons to weed out. And if they get a whiff of this person maybe a problem, okay, that's just a reason to cut you out and go with something they know or something they believe is not possible red flags.
That's right. So think about it this way. Think about you want to be taken seriously as a NASCAR driver, and you show up on the track with like a baby blue rusted out Dodge Dart, and you're like, it's all about the driving. I can outdrive everybody. It's like, but they're not going to let you on the track.
Yeah.
You're not going to be perceived as a professional, right? Maybe you are the greatest driver in the world, but you got to have the tools.
Lapped because
Yeah. And let's use another analogy that may be a little bit closer. But how about, showing up on a construction site, wanting to be taken seriously by the other guys on the site, and
got my Fisher Price toolkit.
Yeah, like a little plastic hammer, and they're like, "What?" And you're like, "Yeah, I got this."
I can hit that sucker square every time.
It doesn't matter. I mean, because the demo is unprofessional. You are the default sounding unprofessional. That's where they're gonna go. Is this is not professional?
Yeah.
So has it ever occurred to you that they're judging more than just the song? They're judging you too. What does your song demo say about your craftsmanship? Right? What does your song demo say about your work ethic? What does it say about your attention to detail? What does it say about your intelligence, right? Or your understanding maybe of the music business? Maybe that's not intelligence, but are you ignorant, right?
Right, yeah.
Because ignorance doesn't necessarily have anything to do with intelligence, right?
Different things. One's just stuff you know.
Right.
Like, I just don't know how that business works, but I'm a PhD in astrophysics.
That's right.
So you're smart. You just don't know how this thing works.
And maybe, where are you on your journey? Right? Like maybe you're promising, but you know what? I don't want to interact with you right now because you need a few more years under your belt, and you need to grow a little bit more in this journey and before you're ready to step up to this level and hit this bar, right? And what's your business acumen, And the other thing is, quite frankly, self-image, right? I mean, just looking at some of the comments over the last 4 or 5 years on my blogs, on my site, and on my on the Discmaker site, some of the comments, I can tell the people who are commenting out of a negative self-image, right? They're having an issue, and they're going to take something out with that. And you've all run into that person where they got something bad to say on a particular day because they're having a bad day, or something like that. But if you're like, well, if that's where it's coming from, how hard is it to do business with somebody like that?
Oh yeah, you just try to avoid it.
Yeah, so this is why, guys, you really want to be in a place where you're presenting yourself, number one, with a quality song demo, number two, in the right way, right? Coming into the right channels, not going up and down. This week is Tin Pan. Yep, Tin
Pan South.
Tin Pan South, and not going up and down Music Row with a stack of CDs, dropping them off in every mailbox.
Right.
I've been in plenty of studios during Tin Pan over the past 5 years where randoms just walk in like, I just want to, are you the producer? Here. You're like, I'm in the middle of a session. Like, how did you get in here?
Right.
Like, and it's crafty that you got in there, but we don't have a relationship. Yeah. So it's about getting it the right, the right song recorded, getting it recorded the right way, and getting it to people in a professional manner in the protocol that's supposed to happen. I mean, the other stepping stones that could happen. How about being able to, up your writing partnerships, right?
Your co-writes and stuff.
Right? When you go with somebody, you're like, hey, man, check it. This is my song demo. I'd love to write with you. And the first thing they listen to it, if it's a crappy demo, they're going to be like,
It's just harder to hear a good song through that.
And again, are they going to want to work with you?
If it's like a pro or just somebody that's aspiring to be pro, but they're kind of further up the ladder than you are, and so you have to give them a reason to write with you. And so there has to be something there, and it's just harder to hear that something through a bad recording, or if you don't have any demos, then you're just going to be perceived like, well, you're way further down the line than I am, because I may not have any cuts yet, but I'm demoing stuff and I'm playing for people and I'm doing the deal, and it feels like I'm still trying to get where I want to go. I feel like I'm kind of giving a handout to somebody else, which might be okay if we have a tight relationship and I love you as a person. But it feels like I'm doing somebody a solid versus I'm doing myself a solid by writing with you. Those are two very different things, the way you invest in it. But also, and we talked about this a little bit before we recorded, but some people that if they don't want to invest in the song and the sonics of it, in a demo, that sort of thing, in a recording,
in themselves,
then you're like, well, what if I write with you and I really like what we get? Are you not going? Am I going to have to just pay for the whole thing? Because I'm here I'm going into business, and you're telling me you want to develop a product and never do anything with it.
Right.
Then that's a hobby.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not in this for a hobby. I'm in this for business. And God forbid, what if we write something I love? Then I'm kind of mad. Yeah. Best case scenario for me is we just write a song that I don't want to demo, so I get out of there and then
because you're put in a position, right? Because all of a sudden you're like, now I'm the one that has to pay for everything. If I want to get this done because I love it, and then it's going to be done begrudgingly, right? Because you're like, this other person doesn't want, but I'm still going to have to share everything with him. So you just kind of It's not a position you want to be in.
For one thing, you're going to get beat out by if he writes another song with a different person who is ready to go in and demo with them. Then they're like, well, if I like both songs, basically equal, I'm going to go with the one that costs me half as much money. Yeah. Because I got somebody that's a professional on the other end of it that's doing probably working professionally in other areas, maybe not getting paid for it, but going, I'm demoing, I'm pitching, I'm trying to build relationships. It speaks to how you are in other areas probably. Like the person that refuses to pay for demos is probably not doing a great job on the networking on the other end of it. Somebody that is just shows they're further along their professionalism. Yeah. And so I want to invest with that person. It costs me less money on the front end because we're going to share the cost of the demo, and there's a better chance we might see some income on the other side of it. I want to build relationships with this person. If I'm so I've had some people ask me before, like, hey, can you just write one with somebody? I'm like, not just with random people, because what's the outcome? What's the best case scenario here? Because I kind of have my dance card, my regulars. Is this just to write a song? Mm-hmm. I could see how maybe that helps you out, because maybe you say, oh, I wrote a song with a professional, I learned some, maybe we got one of my better songs. Odds are it's not going to be one of my better songs. But then, is it going to turn into a writing relationship, like a co-writing partnership, where I got to bump one of my other people? Because my dance card is kind of to the point where I got to bump somebody to add somebody. Yep. What's the end game here? And if you're somebody that's not investing, you just want to write good songs, but then have them magically fairy dust find their way out in the world, what's my outcome here? Yeah. If I'm kind of writing down, or if I'm, if you want to partner up, I don't see where this leads to, this relationship. Yeah. Beyond one song, because I'm going to go, oh, great, we're going to write 10 songs, and I'll have thousands of dollars I've carried your hind on demos, and great. It's not exactly attractive.
Well, I got a horror story for that, actually. I had a client, like a demo client that did a co-write, and the co-writer wasn't going to pay. They wouldn't pay for the demo. The other person was like, my client was like, I want to do this. So I'm just going to do it. And of course, the other co-writer's like, oh, sure, go ahead, whatever. Yeah. So we went cut the fire out of it, sounded great, and came back, and of course, my client's all excited to show it to the co-writer. Yeah. Co-writer hates it because she didn't sing on it. Yeah. Right? And so all of a sudden now it's this drama thing where she's like, and then of course they're amateur, so they're all like, you can't put this out there without me, and you have to have my permission, and it turns into this whole like a whole lot of heartache and drama over, because they're not a professional. Yeah. And so how do you want to be perceived? Right? Like, they don't know anything about you. You know about you, but they don't know anything about you, right? So it's a question of dress for the job that you want, not for the job that you have, right? Yeah. And you want to be able to eliminate everything. Think about your friends and family, right? Like if you've never done a pro demo before and you got some good songs, I mean, goodness, if you come back with something like that and be like, okay, all right, this is not a hobby now. I see, like, this is different.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
First recording I ever did with my band wasn't great, but that's when my parents were like, all right, this is getting serious now.
This ain't going away.
Not sure how happy they were about that. They were thrilled that I was excited about it, but the first one wasn't great. I mean, that was us trying to learn everything. But you know, quickly we learned and got it to the great. But you know, they started taking it serious.
It was a step in the process.
There was stuff there.
My first demo was with somebody I met through an NSAI local workshop, right? So he had a home studio and in a different town, but nearby within driving distance. And I sent him some lyrics, and he wrote a melody and put this simple little demo together. Had some keys on there, a little bit of something I can't remember, but it was, other than like a guitar around a campfire, it was the most produced thing I'd heard of any of my songs up to that point. I was thrilled. The song was bad, just, you know. But I was so stoked on that. That just
the
gave
first
me,
time it manifested itself.
The first time it was like, it's got other instruments on it. And I don't hear campfire crackling in the background. Which does have a charm to it. But I was so stoked, man. That fueled me for a while. That I was like, boom. I was loving it anyway. But that just added more vigor and more fuel to that fire.
Yeah.
Just like, I want more.
Now you're ready to step it up.
Now
you're on the journey.
And it just kicked me like, okay, I want some more of that candy.
Yes.
You know, I want to get recordings. And it was a step in the journey. That song never see the light of day.
Yep.
But it was a vital part. And then my buddy Tim, we did a whole record together in Little Rock when we were living there. And he was the artist, but he and I wrote most of the songs together. And so that was kind of my project too. You know, we were in the studio together and stuff. And I had it when I came to Nashville, started making trips to ASCAP, and I had something that was produced to play for people. And I think they just, he's got a bunch of songs here, and they're doing something. Yeah, and
they're out there instead of, you don't want to walk into one of those meetings and say, well, here's what I want to do. Because you can't create relationships based with new people that you haven't met before, which is the definition of creating relationships, based on like a vision. On what you think you want to do. You can only create a reputation based on what you've done. So having the songs written is one thing, and then having the having something to show that it's been recorded and that you did it the right way brings you to a whole nother level. And then people are going to start get some honest feedback on the songs. What would it feel like to hand in to either an artist in your local area, another songwriter in your local area, an opportunity like one of your play for publisher events, right? Where you can have an at bat to get a song played for a hit publisher, to really get some honest feedback from somebody who can make a difference. Yeah, right.
Something. I had one of those play for publisher things where one of the songs made it through, and good song. That's why it made it through, and the publisher dug it. It's like, there's cool, it's different. A lot he liked about it. And even after it was over, we shut it down. It's just me and him. He's like, I think I got an idea where I could go with that thing. Let me chew on it. So he was saying, because it was pitch ready. Yeah. Like, had a good recording, and he was like, I think I could go. It wouldn't have been that if it just been a work tape. Now, I've had work tapes make it through to the play for publisher, but I expend a lot of energy trying to hear the song. Sure. And have I missed one or two that maybe got beat out by something that was close or equal value but had a better recording? Yeah, sure. I'm sure I have. It's just human nature. You burn a lot more calories trying to hear into something that's just a work tape or a bad demo and stuff, and because you're also thinking about who you're going to play it for, and you want to bring the best that's going to kick them in gear in a good way and get their attention in a good way and be memorable in a good way. And it's like they say, I don't work harder, I work smarter. That thing that's out there. So the songwriting equivalent might be, I don't demo as much, spend money, I just write better songs. That's great, but you're going to get beat by somebody who writes better songs and has better recordings. Yeah, because we're out there, and
there's a lot of competition.
If that's the water you want to swim in. Yep. Your competition is doing that. Maybe not all your competition, but your competition, they're doing that.
And there's always exceptions to the rule, but is that how you want to build your business plan?
Let's think about it this way. The people that have the best contacts, people like Chris Oglesby, the publishers, the people that have better contacts, right? They're still demoing stuff. They're still getting...
Yeah.
I mean, now, you might be able to get a Travis Meadows or someone like Ulrich to sing it. Do not touch the work tape. It's just... Those are geniuses and have the reputation and
by the way, that's the kind of songs that they write. Like,
that's the kind of stuff they
Travis
write.
Meadows isn't going to write Truck Yeah, which was a #1 hit. Okay?
Right.
So I'm not... It's a different style.
Right.
So the stuff that he writes lends itself to that kind of thing, which is a point that I wanted to
And I don't know
out.
if he just plays work tapes or not. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. He may still... I know he does records. So they may pitch stuff off of records. But even those people that can walk into a producer or have a meeting with an artist, they still try to get the best recordings they can. That's appropriate for that song.
Yeah. And now, granted, they got publishing deals. Their publishing companies are paying for that.
Right. But they wouldn't spend that money if they didn't think it was a good investment.
How much money do you think a publishing company spends on a yearly basis in studio stuff?
A lot. I've had publishers spend a lot just on my demos.
I mean, so if we could eliminate that whole cost just because we know this guy had 10 #1s and everybody's going to listen to this song, they would do it if they thought it could compete.
Exactly. It runs more efficiently, but they still do the investment because they know the competition is fierce.
There it is. So even with the hit songwriters, this is my point. Like, if you've got a song that's like The House That Built Me, if you got a song like We All Want What We Ain't Got, like that, you're going to get away with just an acoustic vocal and it's going to be fun, Yeah. And I will tell you that, but know the difference between that and Truck Yeah, right? Or that and a high BPM song, a mid-tempo or high-tempo song with that pulse and that vibe, because you're selling the lyric, the melody, and the vibe of the song. So, and that's going to help determine and color the opinion of, like, the publisher that you were talking about going, I think I know where I might be able to take this. Like,
yeah, it's like, because it's actually ready to take somewhere.
Yeah.
If I want to take it, it's ready.
Yep.
And that's when you're getting in front of people that can do something with it. But one thing you mentioned before, and I've heard it before, is like, well, if they're a producer and an artist worth their salt, they should be able to hear what can be there. True. How many of those meetings have you had in the last month?
Yeah.
Where you've sat down with the producer.
Yeah.
No. I mean, most of us don't, right? So most likely, if you're coming from the outside and you're not already sitting down with the producers and stuff, then you just get it from them. Like, hey, what would you prefer to hear, right? If you're not, odds are you're going through other filters first.
Yep.
I've blogged about the chain of yeses. The unbroken chain, every link is somebody that has to say yes. And at the end of that chain is the cut. Mm-hmm. But everybody that song has to pass through has to say yes is a yes link in that chain. So it may be for you, maybe it's, okay, say maybe it's like me. You do the play for publisher and you send it in. That's the only way I get songs heard, or it's an NSAI publisher event. So then whoever the selection committee for that event has to say yes. Mm-hmm. And that may be a professional writer, maybe someone on staff at NSAI or whatever group, your taxi or whatever you're using, right? They have to say yes. And then, so in my case, like the play for publisher, the publisher guest has to say, love it. Mm-hmm. That's a yes. Now, what's the next thing they do is maybe go to an A&R person who has to say, yes, love it. Who goes, then maybe they play that for the producer or the artist producer who has to say, yes, love it, and label. And if you're not even...
Then the artist has to say yes.
Yeah, and that may be a short chain. If you're coming more from the outside, you may be going to an intern at the publishing company.
Yeah.
Or someone that's in tape copy who has to go through yes to get to the publisher. Or then if you're trying to get directly to the artist, it may go to an intern at the label who's just filtering through all that junk to get to the good stuff. They pass along to the A&R person who then may love it, pass along to the senior A&R person. Are they going to be able to hear? Is every person in that chain of yes going to be able to hear?
Every person, everybody.
Because if that chain breaks at one no, you got to start over and find either a different song or a different workaround for that.
That's a really good point. Is the intern a professional singer
or
a producer? Are they just going to say this sounds like not good? You know?
And are they going to get demo love?
Yeah.
Be wooed by somebody else's cool demo of a mediocre song or a good demo of a great song and pass over your bad demo of a great song.
There you go.
So it's just you're giving yourself a better chance to win.
That's right.
In those situations.
I think those are some really good points. And
I try to have one every after being here in Nashville for a week now, I've picked up a few things.
I picked up a couple of things. But here's the deal, man. It's all about first impressions, and you want to be taken seriously. Mm-hmm. So show up to a professional opportunity with looking like a professional. I mean, that's what you want.
It's kind of your resume. Are you printing it on, nice... I don't know if people still do resumes. I don't know. I ain't got a real job. But if you show up for a resume, are you printing on, nice professional resume paper, or
is it folded up like torn out of a
torn out of 3-ring binder and is just printed handwritten on? But my experience is great. You wrote it on a napkin. This is hard to get through. I'm gonna be honest. And you got a coffee ring over part of your. Where did you go to school? The years.
Funny story about that coffee ring. Yeah, it's like don't care.
Scribbling it down. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, that's it. And it's not. But it's not just even for the professionals in the industry. It's for the next steps for you too. Like in your town, getting your stuff out there. Travis Meadows was not a writer that. It was trying to be a Nashville songwriter. Like he was an artist. He was just putting out stuff, and it started making it on the buses because it was so good. It started making it on the buses, all the artists, and then they're like, "Man, I want to write with this guy." And next thing you know, they started cutting his songs, and he's in all the cool cats. He's in with all those people, but that wasn't him trying to be a Nashville writer. That was him just trying to be an artist. So getting your songs with a local artist who's gonna get some stuff out there and get it out to the world, man, that could be huge. And you want to put your best foot forward, right?
Yeah, and when I remember the first time I met Erin Enderlin was at I was in Little Rock. She's from that area, Central Arkansas area, but she was back in from MTSU, and I'd heard about her through some local contacts because I was trying to grow where I was planted, and so I'd heard about this girl. This is off in Nashville, and anyway, she was playing a writer's night at a pizza place in Little Rock over her spring break, so I went out to go see her. And I gave her that album I talked about that I did with my buddy Tim. And she'd actually heard about it somehow. She'd seen him play out at something, but she just get some awareness. Oh, yeah, I've heard some of your stuff. Well, here you go. Here's the record, or 13 songs or whatever, produced as good as we could at the time. And, yeah, we ended up writing together. Now, part of that was limited options when she's back home in Arkansas, limited options to write with. Right. But also, we had a good representation, so
he had something to hand her.
Something to hand her that sounded as professional as we could get at the time. We weren't getting the A-list players and all that stuff, but it was all right. But it showed a seriousness. Yep. And it showcased the writing as best we could.
And clearly, there was work put into it. Like you spent some time. There's a band in there. There was
We positioned me in a different stack in her mind versus maybe some dudes like, hey, we should write sometime. Yeah. I got nothing, but I got some ideas. We went in it,
Right, don't be that guy. Right. Get to the other stuff.
Part of it's positioning yourself as someone in a more professional light. So
and we all know what happened with Aaron.
And with Aaron, we ended up writing Monday Morning Church together, both of our first major cuts.
There you go.
So that worked out.
See, I love that story, and that's the point that I'm trying to bring across is like you just want you just want to be as professional as you can possibly be. So listen, this brings me to an opportunity. But before I get into this, I want to tell you this rule of thumb, man. If there's just no way on the planet that you can ever afford a song demo. Okay, it's better to hand in a stripped down acoustic vocal than a poorly made demo.
Yes, going back to the cylinder.
Yeah.
Engine.
Yeah. Make it a 4-cylinder engine
that runs on 4 instead of trying to. You only got 4 cylinders, but you just put it in a 6 or 7-cylinder engine or whatever, and you can tell it's not right.
That's right. And know that if it's like if it's a song that requires a pulse and a vibe, that's more of an upbeat kind of especially in today's upbeat songs of country, a little more pop oriented. You'll be lacking some stuff there, but it's better to do that than to try to not know what you're doing on producing and kind of come off
simple and great is beats complicated and bad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but if you got the opportunity, if you can got the means, you got some co-writers and they all want to get into it, and you want to get in on some severely discounted song demos, we are rolling out a program called the Song Demo Scholarship Program. Now, once a month, a bunch of friends of mine get together and we'll do like 30 song demos in a day. We call it a demo slam. And this is, for a lot of pro writers, publishing company clientele, and I'm talking about legendary studio cats. Brent Mason, Google him. Bobby Terry, Google him.
Or just turn on the radio.
Yeah, or turn on the radio because you're going to hear him. That's right. Yeah. Buddy Hyatt, Lonnie Wilson. Our engineer, who, if you've been listening to the podcast, you know, just won a Grammy. Mm-hmm. So, talking about Grammy wins, all the pros that you need to do something great. And we put together a program to kind of give something back to the people trying to break in and make it worth their while. I mean, the deal is when we're doing 30 at a time, these publishing companies, they're not going to pay what you're going to pay because they're doing 60 songs a year. They get a discount. You know, they keep the studios busy. They get a deal. It's like Costco versus whatever, like 7-Eleven.
They're getting, like, booking a session and going, we're going to cut this many songs. They're not just doing the one-offs.
Right, exactly. And so a lot of times maybe you got one song that's just ready to go, you know, and maybe you can't afford to do 6 or 8, which is what it would take you to get it somewhere in a cost-effective range per song, right?
Per song, but then you're still total bills.
That's right. So with these guys, I mean, listen, it's everybody's really good friends. We have a great time. We're in the studio like literally 8 to 12 hours on that day, cutting these songs, and you can have the opportunity in the Song Demo Scholarship Program. We pick 4 songs a month that these guys are going to spend extra time doing those 4 songs. Pre-production meeting, you're going to be cut with the best guys in town, and you only have to pay for what you need. So if you've got a studio at home and you can mix the fire out of it and you can sing, but maybe you just don't have access to Brent Mason, Bobby Terry, Buddy Hyatt, man, this is a great opportunity for you. Mm-hmm. If you need a singer but you can mix, we can a la carte that for a few $100 more. You can make that happen. And if you need the mix too, we can take your work tape and turn it into like a radio ready song demo, pitch ready song demo. Mm-hmm. that you're never going to have to give any kind of disclaimers on, right? Mm-hmm. So it's called the Song Demo Scholarship Program. And if you want to know more about this, just reach out to me at info@daredevilproduction.com. You can also go to giftfromjohnny.com/demo-mistakes. giftfromjohnny.com/demo-mistakes. And that'll download a free PDF that has top 10 demo mistakes that we see from writers when they're trying to make pitches happen. We also did an episode about it, but if you want it in the hard copy, get that. It's totally free, and then you'll get on the list and you'll be able to know what's happening with that Song Demo Scholarship Program. But we got everybody to get in on it, man. They're all down, willing to do it, and if we can help you that way and really save you some money on something that's that amazing, that's what we want to do. So that said, brings us to the end of another killer episode of The Climb. Join the C.L.I.M.B community if you haven't done it already. Just search it out on Facebook. Ask to be let in. We let everybody in, and we'll roadhouse you if you're a bad boy or a bad girl. Mm-hmm. Subscribe. Just get those episodes automatically in your phone through your podcast player every Tuesday. Take a couple seconds, leave a rating and review. It makes us look legit. Mm-hmm. Makes us look professional, right? Like we know what we're doing because you're saying that we look good. And then finally, share it. Share it. Like, let other people know about the podcast. If there's information that's helping you, maybe it can help one of your friends. And obviously the C.L.I.M.B conference too. Don't forget about that.
That's right.
theclimbconference.com.
That's right.
That's for Brent, me, Shelby Kennedy is the president of TuneCore, and hit publisher Chris Oglesby. I think just about every question you might have about what's happening in the music industry right now can be answered by the people in that.
Songwriting, publishing, marketing, distribution.
Yeah, where's it all going?
There we go. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, listen, this podcast exists because we want you to win, so keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.